Hello everyone. This is Phoenix61. We got another Skull and Bones video to kind of go through here. So, just to jump right into things, if you're interested in improving your cash making, your silver making in the game, I'm gonna go through just kind of some very brief like intro ways. I think some things that are easier to do. I think the right off the bat. You can start doing this right away, is looking for shipwrecks, and it's literally like, I think the easiest thing to do is just go through, these like sort of channel type areas, right, and just hack into these shipwrecks, right, so almost all of them give you some silver, right, so you just go through, and then the other thing too that I do is, you kind of got to multitask, like this game's pretty resource intensive, right, so I'm also coming through and mining, iron and trees and whatever other materials are here instead of just, looking for the shipwrecks, right? Because at some point you're going to need this iron, or you're going to need those, you're going to need that type of wood or whatever, right? So definitely make it a multitasking sort of farming type session, right? And then the other thing too, when you're doing this type of activity, it can get a little boring, right? So I don't do it for very long, but I do it when I need some cash, right? Especially early on in the game. It's definitely the easiest way to do it, especially if you're struggling with, bringing down ships and stuff like that, right? So go to, in St. Anne, you can go to the carpenter. He can upgrade your tools. There's quite a bit of, there's a little bit involved in certain materials needed for that, right? But upgrade your tools when you can, and then it makes you get more when you do harvest them, and it makes it faster too, right? So, and then for the shipwrecks, you can actually get into the larger shipwrecks once you get your crowbar upgraded even more, right? So this is probably the easiest go-to when it comes to, like I'm even harvesting the coconut, right? Like at some point you're gonna, like, if you get into cooking, to help with your stamina, or even just some extra cash too, because you can sell it too, right? Like you can pretty much sell anything and everything, right? Like, so even if you don't need the type of wood that you just chopped down, if you're looking at getting more silver, you can always take it and sell it, right? So just gonna keep that in mind. But the other thing too with this game is your warehouse back at St. Anne, which ties to literally every place that you can dock. Like I just traveled this area here, but like there's all these channels that they're just super resource intensive, right? So, when it comes to cargo, like load up and then get to somewhere where you can dock and then unload everything. So then what I do is, if I am strapped for cash, kind of option number 2 along the way is to go to a commodity trader and sell it, right? So, and then you can always keep in mind, you don't have to go to the warehouse person. You can always just hold B or whatever button it is for your, whatever device you're playing on, right? Console or PC, right? And then go through your warehouse. And so, like, what I do is I just throw everything in there. Every time I make land, I throw everything in here. And then if I need something, or if I need cash, you can scroll down. So a lot of these are raw materials or crafting materials. You can look and see what they say: exotic material, specialized material, right? So a lot of those are things that you would use for like crafting or need specifically. But these ones that say commodities, it's pretty rare that you need these. Sometimes you need them for like a specific mission that you've picked up. But for the most part, you can just, if you're just dumping everything in your warehouse, you can use these commodities and just sell them to the commodity trader and get a ton of money, right? So I'm going to load up on some of these, and yes, I know it's easier to, you can mark them, by the way, push X if you're on Xbox like I am, right? And you can mark a whole bunch of stuff and then instantly switch it over to your cargo, and vice versa from cargo to warehouse, right? So there is an easier way, but right, so I'm just going in here and just grabbing a handful of these commodities. Like I'm like, you know what, like I have 90 of these. I've been like saving up, like I've just been throwing stuff in there every time I make land, and so here I have like all this stuff, right? So you do need to have it on your cargo, like on your person, right? In order to be able to have the option to sell it at the commodity trader. And you can mass sell these too by hitting mark, but I'm just kind of going through and being like, okay, max, I got 1,400 for that, 2,200 for those, 200 for that. The tobacco is pretty good. Almost got about 5,000 for that, right? So if just keep in mind, just like don't pass stuff by. If it's an easy grab, you can just tap it and press, to throw it in your cargo hold, and then next time you make land, dump it in your warehouse, right? There's usually plenty of room in there. And then if you do start running out of room, go in there and grab stuff out that you can sell. Option number 3, plundering. So the bases or forts, like whatever you want to call them, that are around St. Anne are pretty easy. Like these guys are level 1, right? So, but like this works twofold, right? So this is another like situation where I'm like, all right, you're really multitasking. Like if you really just need the cash, like that's fine. Like you'll get it. Every ship that you sink, you can loot a little bit of silver from, right? But on top of that, you're building infamy, right? Like you're ranking up, and then you're also collecting materials every time you level through the plunder, whatever you want to call it, right? So you'll have more materials for crafting later, right? You're just never gonna have enough of those, right? Because even if you do, you can always sell them for more silver, right? So yeah. So go in and pick on the easier plunders, whatever you're comfortable with, right? Obviously, you go to a more difficult place, you're gonna get, you're gonna get a little bit more out of it. But also, you can also just go to whichever one you're low on that material type for, right? If you're like, oh, I always need this kind of wood, then go to that location that, will reward it to you for plundering it, right? And then you're kind of triple tasking, right? Like you're knocking out so many birds with one stone by plundering, and like I'm like, oh my god, look at all these ships. So I have a fire build on this ship, and whenever I light one on fire, it lights everybody on fire that's nearby. So we just saw just a mass extinction of these ships because we lit some of them on fire. We set them ablaze, I think is the term for in Skull and Bones, right? But so I'm going to show you here, like we're not going to go through this whole plunder because there's a lot more to cover, right? So stick around if you're interested in, the best way to make cash in this game, the best way to make silver, it's coming up, right? So, once you get through a lot of the story and you're kind of in that end game mode, there's a great way to make cash here, right? So, but all these ships that are dying here, like we got lucky. I don't know why so many have to come through, right? But, we're over leveled for it, right? So we're just making cash off of them, making infamy off of them, and making supplies too, right? So we'll finish off this tower here, which is also on fire, right? So now I'm going to drive through the wreckage, right? And here's all this silver that I'm picking up for, you get a little bit from every single ship, right? And then we got more of the wood. This place has acacia planks, right? So we got more wood from completing that stage of the plunder, right? So it's just like super duper multitask. All right, now here, this is going to be the gold star way of making cash, right? So you need to get to a point where you've unlocked the distillery, right? And you just want to start cranking out materials here, and you want to get to the point where you can produce these higher level ones, so the gold skull rum and the gold skull gin, right? So creating these, you can sell them to Skurlock for like 250 silver a piece, right? So I'm going in and just setting up my refinery to make more, but watch here. So there's upgrades that you can do here to even kind of boost your revenue even better, right? So I'm making the rum or gin or whatever here, right? And white skull rum we're making, right? And watch how many get produced. So it's at 2 right now, and when this next one finishes, just kind of watch and see what's gonna happen here, right? So boom, 4. So it made 2 out of that one timing, right? And that's all in the upgrades, which I will show you in a little bit. But this is kind of where you can like double and triple down on your silver profits from it, right? So you can still do the order missions, right, to earn the pieces of 8. But if you find yourself with an abundance of, the finished products, you can sell those to Skurlock for just hella tons of cash, right? So we're going to go over to Skurlock. We're going to do that. I have a bunch of the higher level gold skull rum, and I'll show you what we're talking about here. Like, silver is not going to be a problem ever again, right? Like, you're sick of like wasting all your money fast traveling. Well, it's not going to matter anymore. So You can see I have 2 silver right now, right? So I need to clean up my inventory. Step 1 for this is clean up your inventory, right? So I'm marking all this stuff and I'm going to dump it in my warehouse, right? Because you need to have, when it's a commodity, you need to have it on you in order to sell it to, a commodity trader, or in this case, we're going to sell it to Skurlock, right? So, but you can see I only had 2 silver, and then I opened that chest, and now I have like 300, right? But so we're gonna go and grab. I'd prepared for this video, right? So I'm gonna go grab as much Gold Skull rum that we produce in our distillery as I can carry, right? So my ship's at max capacity at 476 that I added on here, right? So, and just keep in mind, you can always access. You don't have to go up to your warehouse. You can always access it just by holding B or whatever button it is for your whatever device you're playing on, right? So we're going to take our Gold Skull rum up to Skurlock. I'm going to show you what we're talking about here. But this is the way to go. And then the other thing too, I'm going to kind of show you some great ways to get those raw materials as well. There's some little cheeky, cheesy kind of things going on right now, right? But so he has in his store, you can buy, he has stuff for sale that you have to give him rum or gin for, right? So if you want this blueprint for his guns, or to just straight up buy the better version of it, right? You need X amount of Gold Skull rum or whatever it is, probably. So to buy blueprints and stuff like that, you don't need to have it on you. You can buy that from your warehouse. But so if you go to the sell tab, 250 a piece for these things, right? So we're gonna sell all this. Max out, and that's going to give us over 100 grand in silver. That'll last us for a while, right? So we went from nothing, right? So there was a little bit of investment, right? Because it costs you a little bit of silver to make stuff in the distillery. But when you go in, and we're going to show you the upgrades now, right? So when you go in and pick these particular upgrades, it makes things cheaper, and it gives you better yields at your distillery and your factory to the whatever the other one's called at the other place, right? So so right off the bat, this first one here in the smuggler operations, this first upgrade adds a 10% chance. And then the laboratory is what the other one's called, right? At the other outpost location or whatever it's called. So as we go through here, all of these are kind of just slowly, gradually improving, refinement time, more materials from material runs. Now you can produce so you got to get to this one. You got to get to the 7th one to do the Gold Skull rum. That's where you're going to get the most out of selling to Skurlock, right? And then there's the equivalent at the other outpost, right? That's over in the East Indies or whatever it is, right? So there's the you make the opium or whatever from the poppies or whatever, so it's all like very equivalent. Like there's just you make the snuff or whatever it's called over there, right? So now once you get in here, now you get a 20% chance to produce an additional item when refining contraband and rum and stuff. So, and it appears, from my experience, it seems to stack additionally from that original 10%. Like it seems like it's almost a 30% chance, right? So to get those extra items. So it's really compounding, right? So yeah, Black Lotus opium production. Yep. So yeah. And that's the equivalent, the higher tier, right? So, one thing here is this other one here is good to at least grab this first one. This is helpful with takeovers, right? So the smuggler skills increases progress earned by sinking enemies during hostile takeover by 10%, right? That'll give you a little bit of an edge if you're going up against people that don't have that upgrade, right? So that's a good one to pick, and then kind of just choose whatever you're interested in here. Like these are not as crucial if you're going for the silver making technique, right? But the Red Isle one would be the one to focus on until you open up the other areas, the East Indies and Africa and stuff like that, right? So supply network. So right now, so this is how you're going to get the raw materials, right? So the liaisons are typically, the idea is you take them some silver and then they give you some raw material, right? And then there's the attacks and there's other things too. I'm going to just grab all of these. So the thing with this right now, and I think this is going to not work the way it is working right now in the future, right? It's like there's something kind of off about this, but these roving supply deals, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here, but they're giving you a lot, right? 120 per each one of these that it lets me pick up. And sometimes it doesn't let me pick up the last one like it's doing right now. It's not letting me select this one. And so if I go back out and go back in, then it's just not there. So, but yeah, so, and I think so it only let me pick up 3, and then just the 4th one disappeared. Whatever. It's fine. So we're going to fast travel over here to where those roving supply guys are. And I think they show up in a different spot too, but this one's just so close to the fast travel point. And so the way it's supposed to work is you would go up to, so I'm going to get rid of any extra inventory in your cargo, dump it in your warehouse, right? Like just get into that habit, right? And then we're going to set sail, right? But I think the way this is supposed to work is you go up to the ship, and I've done it this way too. You go up to these ships and you tap Y, you interact with them, and then you can do the trade, right? So I'm going to track one of these just so we can, see that it's, there. But there's another location on the map, and it's like, well, why would you go to that one further away, right? So I feel like it's just something's off. It's not working exactly how it's supposed to. So, I mean, some people are like, hey, you're a pirate. You should be able to do this, right? But I'm like, yeah, but there's got to be some other mechanic that I think is supposed to be at play here. But instead of going up to them and interacting with them and trading with them, all you got to do is destroy one of the ships. And they fight back, but not very hard, right? So, like, they're not too difficult, right? So you can see, like, we take this one out super, super fast, right? And you even get, like, they even have some other crap that, we're getting some other stuff from them too, right? But by killing one of them, it literally completes all of the supply deals, right? And then throws that stuff in our inventory. And I'm like, so I think that, like, it used to pop up a message that you, like, betrayed the helm, and that stuff wasn't working right. Like, I think it's supposed to, like, make you, like, vulnerable to like PvP or something, where, like, other players could now attack you because you betrayed the helm, or somebody else is getting sent after you because you betrayed the helm, right? Like, so I think there's something else that's supposed to be at play there. So right now it definitely feels like a cheese, and it also, like, I literally am completing all of them from killing one ship. Like, I'm like, it makes sense if I'd have to go pirate all, multiple contacts to get each one of those contracts, right? Like, but yeah, and of course we got a rogue that's picking on us here. But yeah, so, like, there's something, so take advantage of it now, because I'm gonna guess that's gonna get tweaked, and whether it's gonna be, and the other thing too is those are listed as daily missions, but they show up every hour. So if you're playing, if you get a long play session going, you can do that a couple of times while you're, within a few hours. Like, you can do these missions every hour, right? Like, they show back up in an hour later, right? So that's what I've been doing. If I've been playing for a long time, I just go in there and check and see if they're back, and if they are, then I've been doing it, right? Because it's like, it's free raw materials at this point. Like, there's no ramification for blowing up those ships. So I think there's gonna be, that's gonna get, like, tweaked or fixed or something. It's definitely feels a little abusive, I guess, like, it's just something feels off about it. Some people, I think, are like, well, no, it's a pirate game, you should be able to pirate them. I'm like, well, yeah, but, like, should it really complete those 3 missions for me killing one ship, and then give me, in some cases, giving me even more materials than what was on the contract too? And I think some of that has to do with some of the upgrades that we picked, but I'm not sure. So do this while it's out there. Otherwise, you'll go back to just kind of the normal ways of getting these raw materials, right? Which will be, like, this will be an option. You could go in and just give them the silver for it, right? Like, that's totally reasonable. Like, that's still like, a quick way to do it, right? So, like, I'm still going to use those missions if they make it so you can't just get it, like, super easy like that anymore, right? I even picked up these ones, so they're just at the, these are only giving me like 60 a pop, right? But just because of speed, like, in ease, I'm doing these too, just to get these raw materials, right? And then you can go take all of them, throw them into your, your distillery or your laboratory or whatever. And, like, if you have so many, sometimes it takes hours, right? So load it up, let it run overnight, whatever, and then you've got finished product when you wake up the next day to play the game again, right? So, yeah, like, you only get 60 of these, but it's instant, right? And then, so that's kind of like the whole process, right, in reverse, right? So you basically do this, get raw materials, whatever way works best at the time, like that method we just did there. I think that's going to be tweaked and different sometime in the future. The other thing too, so just this is a side note here when you get involved with the distillery stuff. These materials at the top cost 1,500 of the pieces of 8, right? And I was stupid and paid 1,500 for one of them, right? So I went for this Sambook. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but I wanted this blueprint because I wanted to build this ship. So this is the ship I've been using lately, and it has eel's twine in it. So I'm like, well, this is stupid. Now I get 5,000 pieces of 8 plus another 1,500 for this, raw material for the eel's twine, right? Don't buy them. Don't pay. Don't be like me. Don't pay 1,500 pieces of 8 to get those, because you can get them by going to the supply network and looking for the attack missions, right? So we did all of the liaisons, right? And then here's the attack missions. There's the fort plundering. These are tough to do solo. Don't recommend that unless you've got awesome ship with awesome loadout. I've done it a couple times and it's rough and it's a little time consuming on your own. But these daily rogue hunts, see in the red text it has eels in there? That's very similar to one of the names of those unique items that the bartender was selling, right? So like I'm gonna scroll through here and worms, like, get it, right? So, and gannets, what did I need? Twine or something? Eel's twine or something, whatever it was called, right? So, what's that? The first one, yeah, it's eel's twine. So here's a dangerous fleet of eels, right? Quote, quote, red text, right? That's the hint. Like, so if you need the eel's twine, you would pick this mission, go after those ships, and I don't know if it's a guarantee, but there's definitely a really good chance that one of those ships will have that item on it. So don't buy those. That's just like side note for if you're doing the distillery stuff and going through those blue lists. Don't be like me and waste your 1,500 pieces of 8 to buy the one thing you need, right? Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. It really is supportive of me and my channel. Make sure to follow as well. We're doing lots more Skull and Bones playing coming up, right? And then we also, of course, have World of Warships videos, and occasionally we play some other games too, Minecraft, Elite Dangerous, what have you, right? So, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.